Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar regarding the launch of TechCalc 3.0, the famous and unique thermal calculation tool developed by Isover for technical installation. So I am very delighted to welcome you. And before we dive into this super interesting topic, I propose that we go through some presentation slides regarding Saint-Gobain and the technical installation business that we run. We are present on 4 main markets with technical installation in industry, marine, offshore, HVAC and OEM. Our presence is worldwide. This is our strength to be both global and local. So we have 2 international brands, Isover and Cayman, and also a network of local brands. And our strength is to have a lot of people dedicated to this business locally, and a lot of brands also already. We are experts in the array of insulation material. Our product portfolio is very wide. We are present with glass wool, stone wool, ultimate, our stone wool lightweight stone wool, and elastomeric foam. So let's start. The topic of the day, so TechCalc 3.0, so the new version. We are going to present this webinar in 3 parts. The very first one is the overview of this calculation tool. Then we will have a video demo so that you can really see in detail what this tool is about, and mainly focus on the features. And we will end the webinar with answering your questions. So for the questions, we welcome you to type them directly in the comments on LinkedIn, so that we can, of course, have a look at them, read them. We will answer and speak the answers directly, lively during this webinar, but also we will type the answers in the comments just after. So, Juan, José, Orta, welcome. We are super happy to have you. This is the expert of this tool. International Specification Manager for Industry, and the floor is yours. Maybe you can introduce the history of TechCalc.
Thanks, Michelle. I am Juan José Orta. Welcome everyone to the launch of TechCalc 3.0. The first version of technical calculation software was launched in 1992, and after some updates in 2003, ThechCalc technique was launched in Europe according with the standards 12.241, and of course TechCalc 1.0 was launched in 2011 as a first version for Windows with an open database and a very big product library. In 2014, TechCalc 2.0 was launched with many new aesthetic aspects, news as new methodologies, the 5 steps guide workflow, and now in 2026 we proudly launch the TechCalc 3.0, the new generation of thermal calculation software for technical installation.
Okay, thank you. So it's impressive. We can see why it's unique. It's a pioneer on the market, more than 30 years of experience, and the continuous evolution. So what is TechCalc in 2026?
Yes, TechCalc represents the Isover commitments to innovation in thermal calculation software for technical insulation. Designed for HVAC, industry, and marine, it delivers smarter, faster, and more accurate thermal calculation for improving energy efficiency and to try to comply the latest standards. The platform is based in, it's a web-based online platform, intuitive, clean interface, it's very user-friendly. We divide it in different steps, complying and all the latest standards, 12241, 17956, the VDI 2055, and ASTM C680, and of course, with more accurate and of course giving excellence in precision in the calculations.
All right, so more than a calculation tool, I would say, it's a decision-making tool. So that's really interesting, and we are going to dive into this way of seeing the tool. So why thermal calculation is so important nowadays?
The question is why thermal calculation matters. Thermal calculation is crucial to try to reduce energy consumptions and, of course, the CO2 emissions in the environmental in industry. Insulation actually is the easiest ways to try to reduce the energy costs, to try to reduce the heat losses, to try to reduce the CO2 emissions, and of course, in many cases, the insulation is overlooked and in many cases underutilized. Effective in insulation design with this type of calculations tools enables organizations to improve the energy efficiency in the industrial plants, comply the regulations, and of course to try to minimize the environmental impact.
All right. So, is it available in several versions?
Yes, we have, as I said before, we have a web-based online platform. We have two versions. One is a free access online with different approach or different features as 3 types of components up to 2 different components, of course, complying the ISO 12241 with 5 calculation methods. There are some difference with the full access. For example, it's not possible to customize the database, and there are some calculation method that does not including as no economic calculations. However, full access have 6 types of different components up to or more than 100 different components. It's possible to compare different components, how to calculate the heat losses, of course, complying all the standards 12241, BDI 2055, ASTM, and of course the new one, energy efficiency classes 17956. We have included 14 calculation methods divided in two ways. It's possible now to classify automatically the energy efficiency classes, customize the database. We have improved some calculation methods as economic calculations, and we have included 2 new features as subcomponents and creation tables for pipes. We will talk later on.
Absolutely. So yes, what about having a demo now, so that you can really see the interfaces, how it stands and everything, and then come back on the features a little bit just after.
Yes, this is the front page. You can see the different markets, HVAC, industry, and marine. Of course, to open and to close the file, and the flag for different countries. We have introduced a new language, the Portuguese. You can select the language that you want. You want to the demo. This is the demo. We are going to explain the 5 steps, and for example, we are going to explain the difference between if you want to compare 2 different thickness for a pipe of 8 inches, 100 millimeters, 100 meters length, of course. And in this first step, it's necessary to define what is the component, the length, the dimensions, and of course the calculation standard. In the second part, you can choose the calculation method in 2 parts. If you know the insulation thickness or what is the minimum insulation thickness for your requirement. In this case, we are going to compare 2 different thicknesses, 120 and 660 millimeters. The third step is you are going to include the properties of the medium. In this case, it's a standard fluid of 300 degrees. It's possible to include other type of fluid properties. In the 4th step, the climate condition or the site conditions. In the 5th step, the insulation thickness. You can open the database with different type of cladding, in this case aluminum, or of course you can include different insulation solution for the external insulation. In this case, we are going to choose an industrial portfolio of Isover, a UTEC pipe section MT 4.0 with 2 different thicknesses, 40 millimeters and 100 millimeters. In the first part, 60 millimeters, and afterwards we are going to do a copy and paste for the next version in the right part of the screen to select or to choose 120 millimeters. For finally, you click the button, you go to the screen of the results, and the screen result you will have the comparison between 2 versions, 60 millimeters thickness with energy efficiency class F and 120 millimeters class C. Of course, there are other magnitudes as heat flow and temperature surface are, of course, the maximum heat flow for each classification.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Juan, for this demo. I think we can really and get the big pictures of it. Now, of course, for our professional users, what really matters is to trust the results. So how can you ensure that TechCalc complies with the standards?
Yes, TechCalc 3.0 comply fully with ISO 12241 and 17956 with the latest standard for thermal calculation and for energy efficiency. We have introduced some methodologies for BDI 2055 and ASTM C680. For example, for 17956, it's possible to calculate or to calculate automatically what is the classification from letter A, from letter to letter G, for if you know the insulation thickness for each your proposal. Of course, in the second part, you can calculate what is the minimum insulation thickness if you have a target for energy efficiency class C. For example, class C or class D, it's possible to calculate for one solution what is the minimum insulation thickness. This type of tools give us precision and consistency in calculation for new projects, for energy audit, for existing installation, for small and for big renovations in the industrial plants. It gives you the organization for APCs, for engineering companies, and for installation contractors, all the security to comply regulations and methodologies. TechCal offers to everyone confidence and market advantage.
All right, impressive. So I propose that we come back on this 5 steps journey so that you can give a little bit of detail.
Yes, we have the main 5 steps. The first one is define your component. You can select different shapes of equipment as pipes, walls, ducts, tags, or different geometries as cylinders, cubical, or sphere. The second step is select your calculation method. As I said before, we have 2 parts. One is if you know the insulation thickness, or you want to know what is the minimum insulation thickness under some requirements. The third step is what is the type of fluid in your component or your element. You can select different properties of your fluid, could be air, water, steam, or the type of fluid, or enter your custom is needed depending on the type of project. In the step 4, you can define the ambient conditions, the ambient temperature, humidity, and the wind speed. In the case it's outdoor, your project, and you can extend your database or include the data of site condition of your project in the database. The 5th step is the select the insulation solutions. You can select from the library, from Isover or other libraries of CINI, BDI, or ASTM. All products of Saint-Gobain are included in the database from different markets, from HVAC, from marine, and for industry. And of course, it's possible to include new materials inside, and you can use it for your solutions. And the final part is the output of the screen of result. It's possible to compare up to 4 insulation setups with thermal efficiency, heat losses, energy cost, savings, CO2 emissions, or the space, depending on the things you have to calculate. Possible to export results as different PDF and reports, component report, full report of all the projects, and of course you can take some graphics from the TechCal.
Okay, I'm sure that the audience would be super interesting to zoom in at the different calculation methods.
Yes, we have 2 parts. One, if you know what is your insulation thickness, you can assign the energy efficiency class automatically in the screen of the results. Of course, possible to calculate heat loss and heat gain and surface temperature and condensation. And we have introduced new features in the calculation method of operational cost. It's possible to introduce what is the tax of the CO2 emissions and the economic cost. We can create the graph of the total cost of your solution to know what is the minimum, the economic insulation thickness that is necessary for the project. The second way to select the calculation method is what is the minimum insulation thickness under some requirements. If your target is some energy efficiency classes, you can calculate what is the minimum insulation thickness for different proposals. Or if your requirement is the maximum heat flow, the same, or the surface temperature, of course, if you need to prevent condensation. With the 2 types of ways to select calculation method, TechCal offers a precise, concise, and more accurate calculations, and you can tailor your calculations in all aspects that you have in your project.
One interesting point also of TechCalc is the flexibility of the tool.
Yes, one of the more important things inside TechCal is multiple components, multiple layers, multiple solutions, and multiple insulation products. It's possible to introduce different type of components, pipes, walls, ducts, cylindrical, spherical, or cubical, multi-layer insulation construction. You can select 2 layers, up to 2 layers for internal insulation, for example, for insulation inside the ducts, up to 7 different layers for external insulation, for the pipes, for the equipment, for a tank, possible up to 7 different layers, and multiple products in this type of different layers. With this type of solution, TechCal makes comparison very, very, very simple. You can design multiple setups and evaluate what is the best insulation solution for your project.
All right. I would just like to remind our audience that if you want two types of questions, do not hesitate in the comments of this live chat. Another interesting topic that we want to zoom in is the open database.
Yes, TechCal comes with extensive open database. It's an open, flexible database. It's possible to customize, extend, and export this type of database and share with your work colleagues in the team of the project. It's possible to import the database from other colleagues, and the database is more or less divided in 5 parts. One of them is the insulation solutions. We have a preload catalog of isover, and with the 3 markets, industry, HVAC, and marine, of course, other standard insulation products included in CINI, BDI, or ESTM. Possible to customize this type of part of the database. The other part is the media properties. You can include all the type of fluids. Inside we have a preloaded database of this type of fluids, and all these type of fluids are linked with the temperature and pressure. We have predefined cladding types with emissivity values, and there are many options to choose according with the market. Of course, the climate data. We have a preset with different regional climate presets, temperature, humidity, wind, and it's totally customizable. And one of the main parts is thermal breaches. You can save your characteristic or specific thermal breaches in your database to use in other projects. It's not necessary to every time that you are opening or you are using TechCal to include the thermal breaches of your project. You can include your thermal breaches as a database and use it and using in the future projects.
All right. So this is also an important moment to present the advanced features that we have for the professional
we have
users.
some advantages. One is thermal breaches. The thermal breaches account the heat losses from thermal breaches applying the ISO 1223993 and delta lambda corrections, and providing data for most common industrial fitting as hangers and supports and spacers. Of course, the operational cost and CO2 analysis. The TechCal now can calculate energy losses, estimate the CO2 savings. It's possible to calculate what is the payback for insulation investment. We have introduced a new box to introduce what is the cost of CO2 emissions, and you can compare different scenarios to find what is the most cost-effective, sustainable solution. Of course, the full integration of the energy efficiency classes standard, the N17956, with the 2 ways, automatic classification of your energy efficiency class of your proposal, or if you want to know what is the insulation thickness for your target in energy efficiency. We have included a new feature as a subcomponent calculation. You can divide your element or your equipment in different parts, up to more than 50. And you can divide with different operation temperature inside or different insulation solutions. Of course, you can compare, for example, if you have a storage tank, you can divide your storage tank in the bottom part, on the wall, and the roof, and of course to propose different solutions for the bottom, for the wall, and for the roof. Compare solutions between them in each part, and of course in the final part of the screen of results, you can see what is the total heat loss of each part and the sum of all heat loss. Of course, we have included new expanded pipe types, copper pipes, carbon steel pipes, stainless steel, synthetic pipes, of course, with other type of standards. It's possible to customize this type of pipes.
Thank you. And what about focusing on the economic cost calculation? Cost is already an important topic.
I think this is the core of the thermal calculation software because economic is very, very, very important. It's possible to calculate what is the economic chart compared with the insulation thickness, including the energy cost, including the cost of insulation. You can see in the graph to know what is the optimal economical insulation thickness or to know what is the most energy efficiency insulation thickness. To do this type of calculations, it's necessary to include some financial factors, for example, the currency, the type of heating, the cooling system, the energy price, the expected service life, 10 years, 12 years or 20 years, of course, the annual price variation of the energy price, the interest rate of your investment, of course, other general costs as maintenance or the cost of insulation work. With this type of graph, we can give to the industrial sector how to choose what is the optimal economical insulation thickness.
All right. And what about audits? Is it a tool that we could use for energy audits?
Yes, with this tool, all certified TechCalc experts can use for his quality energy audits, including the industry methodologies and the best practices in industry. They can use TechCal to promote or to propose different insulation thickness, to talk with the customers, to identify energy losses, to know what is the restrictions in terms of space or impact in energy efficiency, and to know what is the increase in operational cost using one solution on another. With this type of recommendations or insulation upgrades, it's possible to reduce energy, to have energy savings, to calculate the payback easily, because in TechCal it's possible to calculate what is the payback, the return of investment. Of course, for the management in this type of organization, it's very important to have TechCal plus energy audits to validate return of investment, to validate energy savings, of course, to be complying with the regulations.
All right. Okay, so that's, of course, now we can say a decision-making tool. So if you had to convince a decision maker, what would be your main key points?
I'm convinced that adopting TechCalc is a smart decision. Now it's time to elevate your knowledge in insulation to the next level, to be ready for the future in technical insulation. Adopting TechCalc, the organizations can improve the energy efficiency in the industrial plants, can save energy, can reduce the energy losses, of course, to comply with the objectives of the climate change or climate goals. Visit our website to start to work with TechCalc 3.0.
Yes, and also with any new tool, a new calculation tool, we have also documentation. So where can we find this documentation?
Yes, we have two types of brochures or documents. One is the leaflet. It's a quick overview of the features and functionalities of the TechCalc 3.0. And now we have launched the TechCalc user guide. It's a complete user manual with all the steps, with all calculation methods, with all functionalities, and you can how to create your database, how to export, how to import, how to use each calculation method, how to use with assigned energy efficiency classes, how to create your tailor-made reports, how to compare different insulation solutions, and how to create different layers with different insulations. Now it's available in our website.
All right. And finally, any words on how to acquire TechCalc?
Yes. I said before that we have two versions. One is free. It's online. It's in our webpage. The link for the full access of the TechCalc 3.0 is necessary an annual subscription. Please contact with your Isover representative in your country for more information or visit our webpage.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Juanjo. That was a complete and I would say overview, but also detailed features. So that's really interesting. I'm sure that the audience has now a good knowledge of what we propose with TechCalc 3.0. It's time for questions. So I would have a look at the different comments and see if we have some questions. We have our assistants that can maybe speak up for some of them.
So we have the first question here. How does TechCalc 3.0 perform economic insulation thickness calculations, and which financial parameters influence the results?
Yes, as I said before, in the part of economic calculation, it's possible to calculate what the graph of the total cost, including the cost of insulation, the cost of energy, and of course to know what is the optimum economic thickness of insulation with different factors: the currency, the cost of energy, the service life of your service life of your plant, the interest rate, the cost of insulation, general costs as maintenance, and with all data you can create the graph and to know what is the minimum economic thickness for technical insulation.
We have another one. Can you please clarify which specific ESO and VDI standards are mapped to the different calculations, and also how product data in the database can be shared and or made visible across teams since?
Yes, as I said before, VDI EN 17956 integrated is integrated in the software as the ISO 12241. Is the TechCal follow all the standard and to give us more accurate, concise, and precision calculation for your system, for your proposal. Regarding the question of the database, it's very easy to use. The database, you can add new catalogs, you can add products, you can select different materials, you can change easily with different databases, easily clicking in different parts of the database, and you can include all your materials you want to include in your project with different sections, but it's very, very easy to use.
Thank you. And how does TechCalc 3.0 support management and decision makers when evaluating installation investments and sustainability targets?
Yeah, it's very important. With TechCalc, you can know what is the savings in terms of energy. You can know what is the CO2 reduction emissions. You can evaluate what is the impact in your plant to propose one solution on another solution, and to take the decision to go for it when you have more savings and in terms of energy, or more savings in terms of CO2 emission. Now it's a very good tool to optimize what is the things or the thoughts to have to improve in your industrial plant.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So no more questions, no? I think. All right. So of course, this is a recorded webinar, so you would be able to read it again, to live it again, and then please go on typing question in LinkedIn, because we would of course follow and answer the questions that you type. Thank you very much for attending this webinar. Thank you very much, Juanjo.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Thank you, everyone.
And we invite you to follow our webpage and also to follow our LinkedIn account, so that you can be invited to the next webinar. The next one will be in April regarding the LNG market. Thank you very much.